Welcome to Cheat Code, yours truly, DJ Mike Marvelous. Hey, did I ever tell you about the story? I forgot my headphones. I had a show, had an event to do, and I had no headphones. Let me tell you, this was one of the craziest, yet one of the most eye-opening experiences in my career. Because I learned a lot from that day, and also I learned a lot about the things that I do to prepare for my events also on that day. So one, I always make sure I get to events super early. But for this particular event, I gave myself more than enough time. Get all set up, start going through my bag, and I realized I didn't have my headphones. Long story short, I went on a work trip that weekend, the week before that weekend came, and I always take my headphones, the noise canceling headphones on the airplane. So they were still in my travel bag. So that's where they were. But I'm at the event with no headphones. So the event was in a shopping center. So I knew in that shopping center there was a dollar store. So I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna have to rough it and get some dollar store headphones. At least I could just cue up the tracks and live from there. So I rush out, get all set up, rush out, go to the dollar store, and they had a sign on the door that said they were closed due to staffing. I'm saying this is the middle of the day. Like, what are the odds, right? The dollar store is closed. I'm gonna try and find a picture because I took a picture of it. I'll post it here. But it's crazy. So I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna have to do this, right? So I get back to the venue and I'm getting ready for the event. And really, I rocked it. I rocked the event. The event went crazy. You know, the people called and thanked me, and you know, the whole nine. So I'm gonna show you today how I ended up doing that event and DJing without headphones. I'm gonna give you some tips, some cheat codes to help you if you come into that situation. How are you gonna manage, right? You got a 4-hour, sometimes 5-hour event. You have no headphones to cue up any music. How did I do it? This is how I do it. Welcome to Cheat Code. All right, let's get right into it. So the first thing that's going to help you to DJ without headphones is preparation. So you have to prepare your tracks beforehand. So that way you kind of already know the setup of the song. The main key here, or point number one, is going to be setting your cue points. You can see on my left deck here, you see Usher. Yeah, now I can't play it because YouTube will shut me down, but I can at least show you and kind of mimic and tell you how I'm setting this up, right? So as soon as the track comes on, I think Usher says, peace hook, something, 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 right? So he says something in the beginning of this track, right? That's just some words. I always set that first cue point to be something, just to acknowledge that the track is on at that point. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm gonna use it. Sometimes I put this piece on there, sometimes I don't. It all depends. I think it's necessary for this one because you can scratch that in, you could use that somewhere. But in this case, I do have it set, but I don't have it labeled as anything. You'll see it's labeled as like 00 here. And you can actually label your cue points. You can double click on these items. So here, here's a cheat code. You can double click inside of that frame. So you can click on the numbers or the timestamp, and the timestamp will then blink or flash, and you'll be able to type in anything you want. That's why you see here I have start, I have yeah, I have let's go, and then I have hook one, right? So you don't have to guess by the timing. You could just read it. Whatever makes sense to you, right? That'll help you. And if you know the songs, the words that are there that you put into those cue point titles, that'll help you. Or you can just leave it as the number, right? So this is the one, right? This is where you want to start. So if I don't have headphones, I need to know a good place to start the song at. It's going to be on the one, this burp, burp, right? So I know that that's where that is. So if I align my BPMs and I can hit that cue point, I know that's going to be starting on the one, right? If I started on a different track or a different cue point, you have the yeah part. That's where the yeahs start. So if I was mixing just a acapella, if I turn this into an acapella, I know that my yeah is right there. I'll show you how I did that a little bit later. All right, not in this video. In another video, I'll show you how I set up my stems. With just 2 clicks, I can get to an acapella or an instrumental of a track. So I'll show you that in a different video. But for this one, here I'm just trying to explain to you what I'm setting up and why I'm setting up the cue points the way that I am, right? So in that third one, you hear Little John say, "Let's go," and then the track starts, right? Let's go. Burp, burp. So I know I can scratch that "let's go," but I know the 1 is not right there. It's coming up. So that kind of gives me an idea of where I am in the track, especially if you're going from beginning to end. If there's something where I just want to mix in the hook, if you're doing quick mixing and I just want to mix in that hook, I know when the first hook starts, and that's right here. So this is a sure way of being able to mix without headphones. At least you understand the song and where you're starting in when it comes to cue points. I'll kind of show you how I set this up. This was kind of preset. I do have a song here that I'm going to try and set up on the fly, right? So let's start it at the beginning. So the beginning of the song. So I'll set the first cue point. So usually I'm listening to this music beforehand. If I don't have time to do that, then I'm gonna try and do it on the fly based off the colors. So I see there is a big point in the song, looks like a bass or something that's gonna be changing. So I'm gonna set a cue point there as well. So let's see if that works. So of course the track changed a little bit, right? So track definitely changed, so I know different parts of the track. If I don't want that beginning to be on and I need a bass line to mix with something that I'm mixing, I will preset that and have that set up and ready to go, right? So this will probably go on for a little bit, but I have a needle search and I can just search through the track and I know this is about to end. So right there at that end is probably where a hook would go, right? So now I have 3 cue points. The beginning, I have that start on the 1 where I'm probably gonna start mixing, and then I have this hook space or this lighter space that I can use when I'm mixing. So again, setting those cue points are really, really important, because when it comes down to you mixing, you're really gonna wanna know. So, and I hit that one on the fly because now we're at the break. So you can clean that up a bit or do what I gotta do for that. So just a couple of examples of how I set up my cue points beforehand. I am truly listening to tracks. There are some other ways you can do this. There's a quick scroll button that'll jump. It's a jump button that'll jump you through. You got to go into the Serato settings and turn the jump feature on. So when you're hitting the fast forward, it's jumping on the ones and the different points of your tracks, and you can quickly set up cue points that way if you don't want to go through the way that I do it. I like to know the song, understand the song to kind of help me out. But this gives you the breakdown of how I'm doing it initially, right? I'm setting my cue points, I'm naming my cue points, and that gives me that visual aid if I don't have the audio to be able to. This also helps if you are in a huge venue and you don't have a booth speaker, the sound is gonna be off. That will help you with that sound. So just a little something about cue points and how we set up cue points here. Next, let's talk a little bit about waveforms. You see all these different waveforms and colors all around. You see your greens, your blues. So I'm gonna tell you a little bit about what those mean. So blue often represents the bass line. So again, those, right? Your bass lines, your hard hits, right? So those are your blue bass lines. These are great for intros and outros. Your reds are usually indicating high energy parts like drops or choruses. See, this one's red. I thought it should be blue, but for some reason they made it red. I think because there's no voice or vocal track laid on this. All you're getting is bass and snares for the most part and a couple of instruments. All right. Green and yellow are your mid-range items. So you'll get those yellows, you'll get some greens. A lot of the greens are vocal. If I switch this to an acapella, most of it's going to turn green because those are your vocals. So you'll see that. So that comes into play as well. So I kind of know if I'm looking at a track where the talking, where the rapping, where the singing starts, or where it is within the track. So that way I don't have to guess, I can just visually look at it. Now, let me say this. DJing is about listening, using your ears to mix music, right? I understand we have a laptop in front of us, right? Once upon a time, we did not. Yes, I started on records. So you had to listen for all of this, right? So there are other ways you could DJ without headphones back in the day. It wasn't as clean, but you could still do it, right? It took a lot of memory, took a lot of practice, took a lot of you knowing your records, right? And the same thing goes for here. But we have visual aid. Hey, they made calculators, use them, right? So that's kind of why I'm here today, is to kind of give you some tips and tricks to use what's to your advantage, right? So use it, but again, DJing is about the audio, listening, feeling music, reading crowds. Put in the comments what you think DJing is all about. What makes a great DJ? Put that in the comments, and we're gonna keep this running, because I know this could be subjective. You know, hey, he's teaching people how to DJ without actually listening to music. I get it. I get it. I get it. All right, let's move on. Right. So by understanding these colors, you can see where the track aligns and where transitions will work best. So really, you got to look at the colors. You can look at the colors to see what happens in the song. You can even see down here a little bit that those colors are actually, you know, they change depending on, you got your reds and your yellows. Yeah, it's a little bit all over the place, but that's because that's the true track, right? If I changed it to instrumental, it'll take most of the yellows out, or the greens out, and then you get your hard blues and things of that nature. Those are mostly snares. I can tell what a snare looks like. You'll even start to look at the pattern and understand how wave patterns look like. I can tell you right now that's a snare. So you'll be able to see that, visualize that, and really hear it in your own essence. So again, first part is really setting up cue points. Second part is understanding your waveforms, your colors, in how the track is created, what's coming up next. You want to look kind of down the track to see what's coming up, so that way you know when to mix, or just kind of understand how the track is built. And that's a great segue to the next item, is song structure, right? So finally, know your songs, right? Most dance tracks follow a similar structure. Hip hop tracks follow a similar structure. R&B tracks follow a similar structure. They've changed over the years, right? I guess a few years ago, hip hop tracks used to have the instrumental, a little piece of instrumental in the beginning, maybe 16 bars, maybe 8. That gave you enough time to mix another track in, and then the song would start. What I'm hearing for a lot of new music is the track just starts with vocals, right? You get vocals right off the top. So you're gonna have to be creative in how to blend these songs together. What I've been doing, and what I've been successful at doing, is finding out that the newer songs have space at the end of the track, right? So at the tail end of the track, you usually get an instrumental that you could use. And usually I use that to start the track, and then I use a cue button or a cue point to jump that track back to the beginning where the talking is. So I'll use that end piece to start mixing in my track, and when the beat is mixing, then I'll go ahead and hit one of my cue buttons to jump it back to the track for the vocals. So again, another cheat code. I've never really told anybody how I do that. They think it's a pre-mixed kind of set. There are some mixes out here that DJs do, and they're extended versions where they give you instrumentals in the beginning. And again, that's just because that's how music was made not too long ago. Especially hip hop tracks. You used to get that little piece of beat in the beginning, and then you get the track would start, and it helped with mixing with DJs. But you got to think through it sometimes. So what I did is I found a part of the song that works for me to mix with, and then when I'm ready to jump to the song, I just hit the cue point and boom. But that has a lot to do with timing. You got to understand your timing. But knowing how the song is structured is very, very important. The structure of your song is going to help you to be able to mix without these headphones. And that was a big part of me understanding my music, using music I knew, some stuff I did not know as well. But of course, the songs that I knew, maybe some of those prepared mixes in my head that I've done thousands of times, those are my go-tos. Whatever it may be, use it, right? So the intro and outro are usually about 16, like I said, 16 to 32 bars. Some, depending on the genre, are 8 bars. it all depends. You got to understand song structure to be able to really mix a lot of songs without headphones, right? Again, when you understand the structure, you can play, or you can play in your transition and drop even without hearing the track. So you already know what the song is going to do. You're already planning 1, 2, 3 songs ahead of what the crowd's hearing, and that's just simply how it goes. So again, that night, I learned that preparation and understanding your tools can save you in even the most stressful situations. So where, things are going to happen. As a DJ, things are going to happen. They happen. It's going to be, how do you solve that and how quickly do you solve it? But things are going to happen, needless to say. So you want to make sure you are prepared. So again, trust your process, right? Set those cue points, make those playlists, even if you're going to not use all of it, that way you're prepared if something goes down, and it'll make your situation a lot less stressful. I'll say that. So hopefully this helped somebody, or will help you in the future if this situation ever comes up where you're out of headphones, or you get to a club or a venue and the headphone jack's not up to par, or you don't have one of those dongles that everybody steals. Where's mine? I can't even find mine right now. But whatever it may be, you got to get it done. The last resort is simply letting the crowd kind of hear a little bit of the cue, right? So you could use the fader to give yourself a quick listen, and the crowd's going to hear it. But if you have music playing, you know what you're listening for. But you don't want to play the whole thing and you're like, well, what's going on? You can turn it into something, maybe something so they can think you're about the mix, whatever it may be. You got to be creative when things come about. But that's all I got for you today. Thank you for watching Cheat Code. Yours truly, DJ Mike Marvelous. Don't forget to like, follow, and share these videos. We're on a run this year, so you're going to see a lot more cheat code videos from me. Just continue to join, share, comment, ask any questions that you want to ask. I'll try my best to get to them all. But thank you all for joining. That's Cheat Code.